can actually just pick up the bat, hold it up directly in front of you, and just look at the straightness of the grain. And if it looks pretty straight, then that's a pretty high quality wood.
Arteaga drives one to center. Miller hustling over. Diving catch by Ian Miller. A great catch.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the 9-Hole Podcast. This is your host, Ian Miller. Obviously, in the game of baseball, there are so many intricacies. There are so many factors that are against hitting 300. There are so many things that go into, a batting approach, success at the plate. Just putting a baseball in play is probably one of the hardest things to do in the game of sports. So today I am here with somebody in that realm of baseball. I'm here with Lance O'Brien from Mind Baseball, and we're here to talk about his baseball bats and how they are changing the game. Lance, how are you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Man, I've heard so much about you guys, your bats, kind of how you guys are revolutionizing the way you go about things. You guys have a high-tech, behind-the-scenes place where you make your bats. I'll get into it. I don't even want to pull back the curtain too soon. Man, what is going on? How is everything right now with the way that you guys are making your bats, bat sales? What are you guys doing to get your bats out there right now?
Yeah, things are going awesome, man. I mean, we're still a new company, but we're growing like crazy. And it's just all attributed to the fact that when we set out to build a new company, to build our brand, we want to do things totally different than anybody else does. Baseball, as you know, is a very old industry, and there's a lot of things that have been done the same way for a long time. And so in a nutshell, we just came and said, okay, just because things have always been this way doesn't mean they have to stay this way. So let's try to do things totally different and see what happens. And people have come on board, whether they came on board, 4 years ago when we first relaunched, or they've come on the last 6 months or the last week. We constantly hear, man, these things are just incredible. Your bats are amazing. And so when people tell you that, it really puts a fire in your butt to say, all right, let's just keep doing this. We got to keep spreading the word and getting out there. And so things are awesome. Can't complain. Right now we're in the middle of wood bat season. So no matter who you are right now, if you're making a wood bat, you should be able to do a decent amount of sales during these summer months. So
no kidding.
Things are going good, man.
I love it. That fires me up. Pleasure to have you here, man. I wanted to talk a little bit. I know you had mentioned, man, you want to take the way that things were and, make it different. You wanted to go about it different. Is that the entire mission? I mean, is that kind of like the long-term goal of Mind Baseball? I know that's maybe how you started, man. Where do you guys see yourself in the future? What's the long-term portrait you guys have?
Yeah, we want to be the biggest brand in baseball. I mean, we've got major aspirations. We're still a small company, but if you don't set your goals high, then what are you even doing? We want to be the brand associated with baseball. When people think about baseball brands, we want Mind Baseball to be the first company they think about. And we know that's not going to happen today, tomorrow, a year from now. But in 10 years, that's where we want to be. So we have a lot of aspirations on the things that we're going to put in place to get us there. But today, what we control is making the best wood baseball bats possible and making them different than anybody else. And so that's what we're going to do today. Tomorrow, we're going to work on something else. And a week from now, we're going to work on something else. But our vision at the end of the day is to make amazing baseball products, be the brand for baseball, and help a lot of people along the way. So we've, part of our purpose, and our purpose as a company is to help support underserved baseball communities around the country. So for every 10 bats that we sell, we donate one to an underserved program around the country, whether that be an inner city program, a Special Olympics program, basically anybody who just can't afford to swing a baseball bat. We want to get something in somebody's hands. So we want to change lives, and we want to be a big brand. That's in a nutshell what we want to do.
Love that. Man, that's fantastic. Where are you guys based out of? Where's Mind Baseball? Where are the headquarters at?
Yeah, we're outside of Dallas in Irving, Texas. We've been here for about a year and a half now. We had a fire that took out our entire office and warehouse at the end of December 2022, just a couple days after Christmas. And so we've been in this little temporary space. It's becoming a little bit more permanent since we've been here for so long, but we'll probably be here for about another year, and then we're going to move into our next phase of where we want to take our company. But we're a Dallas company, so it's a great location. We're all from here, and we love being here.
I love that, man. I love that. So before I start asking like specific questions about your guys' bats, what specifically makes Mind Baseball different than the competitors? I'd love to just get a little bit of education and insight into specific wood bats. So you guys say that. I mean, I have it right here. European Beechwood. So I haven't heard this before you and I had talked. As I go through professional baseball, you learn a thing or two about wood bats. The longer that I progressed in my career, the more that I was learning. And it's like, man, I at least when I was around, I didn't hear of European Beechwood. Man, now I'm hearing a whole bunch about it. I'm hearing about how solid it is, how strong it is. Man, what kinds of things don't parents and kids that might just be getting into the wood bat scene for the first time, like what don't they know about wood bats? What are the different types, I guess, and maybe why are they different? How do they impact the way that a baseball comes off of a bat?
Yeah, that's a great question. And
That's a lot, dude. I'm sorry.
Super detailed.
Yeah.
I can give you. But in a nutshell, there's a lot of things that go into a wood baseball bat. Let's say a parent needs a wood baseball bat for their kid for a tournament coming up. Just because you pick up a wood baseball bat from XYZ company or reseller XYZ, just know that it's going to be very different depending on somebody else that picks up the bat right next to it. There's so many different variances in wood. Wood is a living, breathing thing, and the type of wood species that you use can affect the bat. The type of quality, how straight the grains are, can affect the bat. Because you played baseball at a high level, how important it is to get a nice clean cut of wood. It's the most important thing when you're going to use a single piece wood bat. So in short, there's a couple different woods that are popular. Historically, ash was always the dominant wood species, and that got taken over by maple in the late 1990s because Barry Bonds just started to mash home runs, and he was swinging a maple bat. And so from that point on, everybody wanted to swing a maple bat. Maple is a dense wood. So some of the qualities that are important to wood is how dense it is. So density per square inch on a wood bat is important. That tells you the density. Higher density means more pop, means it's going to be a little bit stronger. Surface hardness, flexibility. So how much can you bend it before it breaks? How stiff is it? And then your dent resistance. So how much in force can you put into the wood before it starts to deform and bend on you? And so those criteria are kind of the four main criteria on what makes one wood species better than another. So maple has a higher density. It's a stiffer wood. It's got a higher dent resistance than ash does. So it started to take off. Well, birch came in the late, let's say 2010s, kind of in that range. Birch started to take off for the reason that it was not as dense of a wood as maple was, but because it was similar, a little bit more dense than ash is, it allowed people to swing a wood that was a little lighter feeling. It felt a little lighter in your hands, but it provided you a good amount of surface hardness. So it was a little bit more durable. European Beechwood is a wood that we stand by and believe truly with all of our hearts that it's the best wood for baseball bats because it's a denser wood than maple and birch are. It's a stiffer wood, which means you're going to have more energy transfer to the ball because the stiffer the bat is, the more energy is going to stay in the point of contact versus being distributed throughout the bat itself. So the stiffer the bat, the more energy goes directly from the barrel back to the ball and is not lost in the swing. It's got a higher bending strength than maple and birch does. So these are all just criteria on what makes one wood different than another. Right? And so one thing that you can do as a parent is give your kid a bat who they just don't feel comfortable that it's not going to break on you because it's got a higher density. One of the other things that happens in a lot of baseball bat companies is that they the bats that they sell to the average consumer is not the bats that the pros swing, right? So a pro will swing prime maple, prime birch, the best of the best, the straightest grains, the absolute highest cut of wood possible. That's not what you're getting when you pick up something from Academy or Dick's or anywhere else. You're getting, secondhand, third hand wood, whatever, because what happens is a bat company has to buy blocks of wood in large quantities at a time. Okay. So they slice off the top percentage of those bats and they give it to their highest quality athletes, the guys who are going to be in the pros. And then the next guys come in, the minor league guys, and then so on and so on and so on. And they have to use all of that wood or else it's a waste of money. And so the bats that you're buying for your kid as a 14-year-old is going to be very different quality than the bats that the pros are swinging. So just because you buy the model that big name player swings does not mean that you're swinging the same cut of wood that he is. It might be different grains, and there might be some kind of deformities or something in there. So there's a lot of things that go into what type of bats that you swing versus what type of bats that somebody else swings. And that's something that we just do different. We have one grade of wood. As long as it's MLB grade, it doesn't matter who buys it. That's going to be the same style bat that we make for everybody. So we have 3 models and 4 different finishes. Everyone is the same cut. Everyone is the same style. And the reason that we're able to do that is because European beechwood is a straighter growing wood than maple and birch is as well. And so we just naturally get straighter, higher cuts of wood out of our blocks that we purchase than anybody else. And so it's a lot easier for us to do that versus if you're using a maple and birch, it's just not possible because only about, let's say 15 to 20% of your entire order block is going to be that high grade, and so you just have to make a decision. What are you going to do with it? And so there's really a no-win situation if you're using a different wood. So tried to keep that as short as possible. There was a lot in there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to the wood. There's a lot to wood science, and we're trying to make it as simple as possible for people to use and buy the highest quality product, and feel like they're swinging the same bat as the big leaguers are.
Yes, man. So I would look at when I was in high school, probably just getting into the woodbat scene, right? Some of the tournaments would be woodbat. Some of the showcases would be woodbat. You start getting into the college age, and that's where you start getting introduced to summer leagues that play woodbat. And so my first experience with woodbats was probably like junior, senior year of high school, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just saw that people that were on the Phillies where I grew up, that was the home team. Seeing like Chase Utley and Jason Worth, they'd be swinging Marucci or something like that. And so I needed one. I needed a wood bat, right? I was finally playing on a tournament team that was doing wood bat type stuff. I go to like Kelly Sports and I get a wood bat, and I don't know any better, man. I don't know the difference. It's like $80, $100 or something like that. And I guess it gets the job done. Fast forward a couple of years, man, I actually used that bat because I didn't know the difference between like MLB grade wood, professional grade wood, and some of the lower tier wood. I actually brought that into my first year of pro ball, like 5 years, 6 years later. Man, I actually hit a home run with that thing, and it ended up snapping. And I wish I saved it, but it was just like a random, like Kelly Sports piece of wood, man. So I wanted to ask you about that. Definitely wanted to ask you about that. My education on like wood bats and what they consist of, and just having an idea of that stuff. I got my education as I was leaving professional baseball, as I started caring a little bit more, right? Understanding that like my bat could have a direct influence on how I perform at the plate, right? Having a better understanding of my swing and the mechanics and the stuff that gets into it. Another question, man. So maybe if parents are just starting to get into that wood bat arena, their kids are just starting to get old enough. Man, you said you have 3 models. What kind of model would you recommend to a prospective parent or player just starting out to get the feel of it?
Yeah, the most popular model, and this is not exclusive to us, even if you don't buy a bat from us, I'd recommend going with a 110 turn. We call it a balanced model. It's a bat that's got a good swing weight to it, a decent sized barrel, but also there's enough weight in the handle and knob that you're going to feel like you can swing that pretty easily through the zone. So it's one of the interesting things, and probably the big difference, Ian, from when you were playing, is now a lot of companies are able to speak directly to the consumer, whether that be through, Instagram marketing, organic post, whatever, and so we're able to communicate that message. You would have had no idea. And the guy at Kelly's, he wasn't educated enough to talk to you. He's got to sell 1,000 other products at the same time, and so it, you can't really blame anybody. It's the message was really hard to get out there. But now people, anything that you want to get educated on it. You want to make sure you've got all the information on hand. And it's a lot easier to get that information out there just based on how companies are structured nowadays. And so that's something that we try as hard as possible to educate people as much as we possibly can on what separates our bats, what separates different woods, what turn models you should be swinging. Everybody wants to swing the most end-loaded bat possible because they want to be just like Mike Trout or some big leaguer guy. They want to swing their turn. That's not necessarily what's good for you when you're swinging wood for the first time. You want to get something that you can swing as fast as possible through the zone. So we always recommend go shorter and lighter than you think. And basically, you just want to make sure that you can swing it quickly through the zone and make connection on the sweet spot. So go shorter, go lighter, go with the turn that's easier to swing, that's got a little bit more of a handle-loaded feel to it. And you're going to set yourself up for way more success than if you just try to go to any company and be like, okay, I need this thing to be end-loaded because that's what I saw, XYZ guy swinging in the big leagues. And my buddy who's 6'5", 250, that's what he's swinging, or you got to pick a bat that makes sense, especially when you're swinging wood for the first time. So we always recommend, and we send this to every person who goes on our website. We've got a bat finder quiz that we allow people to take, let you put in where you hit in the lineup, what type of hitter you're looking that you are, what type of output that you're trying to get from your baseball bat. And then, it recommends a bat, but then the first email that you get is, hey, you should pick a bat that's lighter and shorter than you think, because it's going to set you up you're going to have a lot more success when you do that than if you try to go with something and nobody should be really swinging a 33.5 or 34-inch bat who's 14, 15 years old. You guys, they should all be swinging 32s, 32.5s, maybe 33 if they're really big. But that would be our recommendation. 110 if you're going to go with any bat out there right now.
Love it, man. So we touched on the different types of wood, maybe some things to look for, the reasoning behind some of those things. What about bad wood? Are you able to tell, or would consumers or prospective buyers, if say they were at a Dick's Sporting Goods or a Kelly Sports or something, they were comparing different types of wood, different types of bats, is there a certain telltale sign that you would be able to say to somebody on how to spot bad wood or a bad bat?
Yeah, the easiest thing to do, and this is something that was started because MLB required it. It's called an ink dot. So if you look on any bat, there's a circle there on the handle with an ink spot, and it allows you. The reason that they do that is because on any bat, no matter what the color is, they want you to be able to exactly see what the grain is and what we call it slope of grain. So on MLB, your requirement is 3 degrees of slope or less. And the reason that you want straighter grains, less slope, is because a straighter grain means a bat that's going to break less. It's going to be the wavier the grain is, the more likely it is to break on you. And so MLB requires that. So that's why a lot of bat companies put an ink dot on a bat. Now, just because it has an ink dot on a bat doesn't necessarily mean that it's an MLB grade bat. And a lot of companies just slap it on there because they know people will look at it and say, okay, well, this has got to be a good quality bat. So 1, look at a bat that has an ink dot, pick those out. And then 2, you can actually just pick up the bat, hold it up directly in front of you, and just look at the straightness of the grain. And if it looks pretty straight, then that's a pretty high quality wood. If the grain starts to slope and wave a little bit or goes off at an angle, then that's probably a lower quality wood bat. Basically the one thing that you can control is how straight your grains are when you buy a wood baseball bat. And if it's got a straight grain, that means you're going to end up with a high quality piece of wood. If it doesn't, if you can't see the grain, if it doesn't have an ink dot, most likely you are not going to be picking up the highest quality piece of wood, and you're not going to have a lot of success with it because it'll probably break on you pretty quickly.
I did not even know that, man. I did not even know that. I knew that the ink dot was for a certain MLB characteristic or saying that it is certain quality, man. But I had no idea about the grains telling you if it's going to be able to withstand or break easier. Man, that's nuts. So I didn't even know that. It's wild.
I've already paid myself off on this podcast already.
That is beautiful right there. I appreciate the education, man. I wanted to make sure, that I asked that for just right up front, man. So let's talk a little bit about your guys' bats, man. So the European Beechwood, it's wild. It is dense. It's strong. You have people singing Mine Baseball's praises. I go on the website, man. The 2021 D1 leader in NCAA batting average, Liam McGill, who was drafted by the Braves, saying your bats are insane. What other players are you guys working with? Are there any specific big names? Are there specific ideas down the road? Guys you're targeting, man? Like I'm reading all this stuff about your guys' bats. Absolutely crazy, man. What other players are interested in Mind Baseball?
Yeah, we're getting out there as much as possible right now. Like I said, we're a small company, so really we love to post anybody who says something great about our bats, and the bigger we get and the longer that we do this, the more guys say something. So there's a lot more video testimonials that come in every single day for people that just love the bats. I mean, it's parents to kids who are as young as 9 years old and want to swing a wood bat for the first time. We get testimonials in from them saying, man, this thing has just changed my son's confidence. He just loves this bat. He would rather swing this than his metal bat. All the way up to 70-year-old guys who are playing adult baseball leagues and just want something for their World Series Classic down in Fort Myers. And they just want something that gives them a little bit more pop, for however long they want to play baseball till. We get testimonies from them that said, this thing has just changed me. It makes me feel like I'm hitting, when I was 50, 20 years younger. Which is great, so anybody that posts something great, we love to highlight those things. It really encourages us to keep going. There's a lot of high level prospects that are swinging our bats. A lot of kids that are in the top 10 of their recruiting class for, this year, 2024, 2025, 2026, and so on. We're still a relatively new company. And so the message is just starting to get out there, and the more guys that keep using our bats, the more of these top 10 list of kids that are going to be swinging our bats. The number one kid in the 2025 class is he's from right down the street. He loves our bat. So right now we're not MLB officially certified because it's a pretty substantial licensing fee that you have to pay MLB. We went down that path in the past. We were MLB certified in the past. But it just financially didn't make sense for us to continue to pay the licensing fee to MLB to stay MLB certified. We still make our bats exactly the same way that are required. It's just about cutting that check and deciding one day to do it. And so we're working with a couple MLB players behind the scenes, getting bats in their hands. And once we get a couple of those guys to sign off, we'll be back in MLB. And so then we'll be a little bit more comfortable spreading the word on who's swinging the bat and what they're doing. But right now it's a little bit of hush hush behind the scenes on because it's still a work in progress. We want to make sure that we've got guys locked down before we cut that check to MLB again.
100%, man. That makes a ton of sense. I get it. So we talked a little bit about what separates your bats, man, the requirements, specifications. You guys have one grade of bat that you guys put out with the wood. Talked about the European Beechwood, how dense it is, how strong it is, man. What separates Mine Baseball from other bat companies? I've heard a lot about the most advanced bat factory in the world. Didn't want to blow it early in the podcast, but here we are talking about it, man. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you guys have going on with this most advanced bat factory?
Yeah. So in short, every bat company makes their bats very similarly in the United States. They source their wood from a very similar location up in the Northeast, whether that be prime maple, prime birch. They do a 2-stage finishing process that's very similar, where you sand and paint your bat a couple times. A customer orders their bat almost exactly the same from just about everybody. There's a bat builder that if you go on any bat company's website, you can see that the same bat builder is used on a lot of companies' websites. And so you can change the color, the handle, the model, the turn, the knob, change in swing weight and balance point. They all have a similar 30-day warranty. They get to you in about 4 to 6 weeks. And we know this because we used to make bats under a private label for a lot of companies. That's kind of how we got started in this. We were making bats under a private label for a lot of different companies, and we know what the criteria is. And so when we started Mind Baseball, we just said, okay, we've got the ability to do a bat completely different if we decide to. So let's use a different wood. Okay, that's step one. Let's, instead of 2-step finishing process, let's do 6 steps. Okay, so we're gonna do 6 steps, and we're gonna put a high gloss finish on every single bat. That's gonna be standard. We're not gonna let people customize it because we think customizing the bat makes it worse. Maybe an MLB player will know, okay, I need to take a little bit off the taper. I need to add a little bit to the barrel. I need to change the knob slightly. But a 14-year-old kid who's swinging a wood bat should not have that ability to do that, because we know what kind of baseball bats have the optimal balance point and swing weight. So trust us, trust our models, and just pick the ones that we have. We put a soft touch grip on every single one of our handles that feels great, stops the vibrations.
What's that mean? Soft touch grip.
Yeah, if you pick up one of our bats, I can tell you, but it's a soft touch finishing process that we put on the handle. It feels kind of like a tacky grip that's built into the bat. It's a coat that we put over the top of the wood bat at the end of the process. And the main point is it feels great in your hands, and it's a technology that's used to reduce vibrations from mishits. So it makes it feel like the sweet spot of your bat is a lot bigger than it is, because it minimizes vibrations. And sweet spot is it's measured by how much vibration you can feel in your hands when you hit it on the barrel. And so it makes the bat feel like it's got a huge sweet spot to it. And so we added that. And then we offer a 6-month warranty. That's about 3 times longer than the industry average. And then we get bats out the next day. So if you order a bat today, it'll ship out on some cases today, and it'll get to you in a couple of days, or at worst, it'll ship out tomorrow. And so we just do things very differently. We got started in this business because we all come from the woodworking background. And one of the companies that we were working with is the largest woodworking manufacturer, most likely in the world, probably in the top 5 or 10 at the very least. They're the largest manufacturer of paintbrush handles, of rifle stock, of basically anything turned out of a block of wood. And we just have the ability to lean on them when we started this business together with them, on what we can actually make and what we can actually put into a wood baseball bat. And it's just a lot harder for most wood baseball bat companies to do that, because, most people start with a lathe in their garage, and it's the same lathe that just about everybody can buy. And they make bats the same way. And then you got to build up to a pretty substantial amount to be able to make bats any differently, or buy a lathe that's any different than the one that we have. We have a 5-axis. We have multiple 5-axis lathes. We use robotics in our facility. We can do things very differently than a lot of other wood bat companies do, just because of who we've partnered with in this manufacturing process. So really, it's what can we think of, what can we dream of, and how can we incorporate that into a baseball bat? That's kind of whatever the mind would limit yourself to. That's what our ability is. And so we really truly do believe that we have the ability to do anything out there if we really want to. It's just about, all right, how can we make that happen?
Yeah, man, love all of that. Where can where can my audience find you guys? In Instagram, Twitter, website, all that stuff.
Yeah, minebaseball.com, at minebaseball on most social media platforms. We're everywhere. We're going to be at a lot of events this summer. So if you've got a wood baseball tournament or showcase coming up, we'll probably have a presence there. We're growing, but we're trying to get out there as much as possible. So most likely, if you got an event this summer, you'll see us. And if not, you'll probably see us online, because we'll be blowing you up on social media. Love
that, man. That's fantastic right there. Lance, what last question I got for you before we let you go? So this is obviously the 9-Hole podcast, where I am giving insight and information to the next generation of 9-hole hitters, underdogs, maybe undersized, underappreciated. Ben, when you think about a 9-hole hitter in a lineup, what sorts of characteristics do you think about when you think about a good 9-hole hitter?
Man, it's the same type of characteristics that I look for when I hire people. It's somebody who's gritty, who's willing to do what it takes, just step up and do what's asked of you. And that's the same kind of people that we try to bring into Mind Baseball. So we have what we consider a lot of 9-hole hitters here that work at this company. It's people that are just going to say yes, tell me what to do. That's the kind of personality types that not only as a hitter will get you far, but just as a human being will get you pretty far in life. And so those, if you can have that kind of characteristics and quality and traits, even after baseball ends, you're going to set yourself up pretty well to be a very successful person.
I love it. I love it. Beautiful answer right there. Lance, thank you so much for your time coming on the show, talking a little bit about your bats, about Mind Baseball. I am so grateful for your time, man. Thank you again.
Thanks, Ian. Really appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you back here again later this afternoon. Take care.